Hi everyone, so first of all I want to say I'm really sorry for not filming sooner. It's been 2 weeks since I had my baby boy, and to say that things have been chaotic and insanely busy is an understatement. Like, there's no words to describe how much I have to do now, and it's like I am struggling a little bit. Brad's been on leave. He's back at work today and I'm feeling very anxious about the day. But anyway, I just wanted to say sorry for not uploading sooner. But as you can imagine, 2 kids under 2 is a lot of work, and it's just a hell of a lot to get used to, and I'm still getting used to it, and it's gonna take months to get used to it. But this is going to be my labour and delivery story. I'm not going to make it really long-winded and go on and on because I just have time to do that, but I will do my best and let you know like exactly what happened and how my labour went. Sorry for the way I look, but I haven't got any makeup on and my hair isn't brushed, but that's what you get when you've got a newborn and a toddler and things are kind of a bit mad. So my labour started, as you know, my previous video, the 29th of October, at about 7:30 to 8:30 in the morning. I started to have contractions every 8 minutes, and they were like, it was like a very sharp pain in my lower abdomen, which I thought was a bit odd because I expected I expected it to be more of a cramp that involved my whole uterus, like my whole bump. But this was literally like just my lower abdomen, and it stayed, that kind of pain, it stayed like that the whole time that I was dilating, and it was excruciatingly painful. It was just really sharp, just really sharp pain, like someone was trying to force my cervix open with their hands. Like, it was just so painful, but I definitely knew they were labour contractions because it was nothing I'd ever experienced before. So I was having those every 8 minutes, timing them with my pregnancy app contraction timer, and then like hours and hours later that kind of stayed the same till about 2 or 3, and they started to get a bit closer together. So Brad phoned the hospital, the birth centre, and this was the day before my scheduled induction, so it was pretty awesome that it was happening then and I didn't have to be induced. He phoned the hospital and told them what was happening, and they said ring back in an hour to see how she's progressed, if she's getting worse, if the contractions are getting closer together, or if I'm bleeding or my waters break, then phone them back straight away. So we got to about 30 minutes later and my contractions went from every 8 minutes to 6 minutes to 4 to 5 minutes, and it was at that point where I couldn't breathe through them. I was trying to do my hypnobirthing breathing. That didn't really work out because I just couldn't breathe through these contractions. They were nothing like cramping period pains like I'd read about. They were just sharp pain down low every 4 to 5 minutes, and I was literally like, I have to go to the hospital now. I literally have to go now. You kind of know exactly when you have to leave. And when I was induced, the pain was more crampy. It was more like period pains involving my whole bump. That's why I'm saying like I'm confused about this type of pain, like this type of contraction. I just didn't really think that it would be like sharp. I thought it would be crampy like my first labour. I have no idea. But anyway, Brad phoned the hospital again and they were like, yeah, come in, because obviously the contractions were getting really close together. All my bags were packed, everything was sorted out. I sorted out some clothes for my daughter because she was staying with her other nan, and my sister-in-law was going to come and pick up some overnight stuff because she was going to be sleeping at Brad's mum's house, so she was like well looked after. And we went to the hospital, to the birth centre, managed to get a wheelchair because there's nowhere that I could walk, because it's quite a walk from the car park to the birth centre. Managed to get a wheelchair, and I was just like, this is so painful. Still coming really frequently. And then, thank you, Shoo. It's my daughter. Yeah. Ta. What are you doing? So yeah, we got to the birth centre and I was trying to soak everything in. Like, you have to go past the EPU, the early pregnancy unit, to get to the birth centre, and I was just like remembering the times that I'd been there and thinking how the time has flown. Like, I've gone from being early pregnant to giving birth, like in labour, and it's just like, oh my gosh. And I saw lots of people in there, and I was just like, I was one of you, like, you know, it seems like yesterday. But anyway, we got to the birth centre, really nice place. I was trying to soak everything in because I'd looked forward to like having a natural labour without people prodding and poking me, so I was trying to soak in every like aspect of the whole place, and it was really nice. So then they took me to one of the assessment rooms, like examination rooms, and I ended up throwing up a couple of times because of the pain. It was like really getting worse. But it was only a couple of times. I wasn't sick anymore the whole labour, which was really good, because with my first labour I was sick constantly because I think my body didn't really get on with the drugs they were giving me, which is why I didn't want drugs this time. So yeah, she did my blood pressure, the midwife, and she sort of booked me into the centre, but I think she thought I wasn't really in labour because I was pretty calm. I wasn't shrieking the place down at that moment. I was kind of just dealing with the contractions. I wasn't making any sound really. I was just kind of like moaning a little bit. So I think that she is kind of expected me to send me home and to come back later on that day, or to give me like a sweep or something like that. So she like checked everything was fine, and then she did the examination, which I was dreading because I hate examinations. But this wasn't painful. This examination was more like pressure. It wasn't painful, and that I kind of knew it wouldn't be as painful because I knew I was dilating. And I knew that the more dilated you are, the less painful it is. And when I'd previously been checked, it was when my cervix was nowhere near ready to give birth. Like, I mean, ready to kind of, it wasn't dilating, it was just closed, or it was like just opening, but it wasn't ripe. It wasn't like, that's why it was painful, and it was far back. This time it was definitely getting ready. And she checked me, and it hurt a little bit because she was trying to like see how much of my cervix was open, like how far dilated I was. And then she suddenly said, "You're 8 centimetres dilated," and she couldn't believe it, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my gosh, I've literally done the majority of this labour at home with just paracetamol. Like, hypnobirthing must have worked. I don't know if it was hypnobirthing. I feel like I failed at that, but apparently it did help with the breathing and whatever I was doing, just coping with it. And Brad couldn't believe it. He was like phoning his mum, telling her, like keeping her updated, and my mum as well. No one could believe that I was that dilated, and I was thinking, I'm going to be heading for a transition, which I didn't actually notice. I'll get into that. I didn't really notice the difference between transition and the different stages. Like, they were all just contractions. It didn't get worse. It kind of just stayed the same through to when I was dilating to the pushing stage. Kind of just stayed the same. I didn't notice any worsening of anything. So then after that, they obviously were going to keep me in. She was like, "You're not going anywhere because you're obviously going to give birth soon." I couldn't believe that it would be literally a couple of hours until I would probably have my baby, and it was just so surreal and so mad to be at that stage. It felt like it had gone really quick. And so they took me to one of the birthing rooms, the delivery rooms, and I was lucky enough to have the main room with the built-in pool, because they have about, I can't remember how many, I think they have 8 rooms. They have 7 inflatable pools and 1 built-in pool, and I was in the room with the built-in pool, which I think that was the biggest, the main one, which was really lucky. Like, I really did want that room because I wanted a water bath. And she started filling up the water, the bath, the pool, and I was having gas and air, sitting in the chair, trying to get through these contractions, which were getting really painful, but staying the same amount of time. Like, they didn't turn into one whole contraction at all, which is what I read transition is. I didn't really notice that at all. I noticed them just being like every 1 to 2, 3, 4 minutes long. And then I got in the pool, and I didn't notice a difference in pain when I got in the pool. I think I put too much expectation on the water to kind of help the pain, but it kind of didn't really do much for me. It was still very sharp, low down, and I still had the gas and air, which doesn't really do much for pain, but it just made me feel really tired, but I couldn't stop it. I couldn't stop having the gas and air, even though it made me feel like I wanted to pass out and sleep. I still kind of needed that. I really needed that, the gas and air, even though it was just making me lethargic and feel like not good. So this is life, like, with my toddler. Yeah, dancing. Oh yeah. Bless you. So I kind of was just dealing with it in the pool. I was trying to get into an upright position, and as upright as possible. I was kind of kneeling and leaning over the side, which wasn't. I was in that position for a couple of hours, and in the end, I ended up giving birth, like sitting up in the pool, because I literally couldn't stay in the upright position any longer. I was just so tired, and my legs were hurting and my arms were aching, and I couldn't get the gas and air properly in my mouth with all the wire, like the wire and everything. And yeah, so I was trying to sort of get into just a comfortable position, and I couldn't hold Brad's hand. I really needed to squeeze his hand, but I couldn't really hold his hand on the gas and air and support myself up. So I ended up at the later stages of labour, like the end, towards the end, when I started feeling the urge to push, I just sort of slumped down and was sitting. I wasn't lying flat on my back, I was sitting up, and yeah, at that point I was like, at the pushing stage, I was feeling like, when I was upright as well, I was starting to feel the urge to bear down, and it was just like a natural, I couldn't stop it. It was like, just, I felt like I needed to push. And I was like, I wasn't checked anymore after that. I wasn't checked at all. Only in the initial things, the initial assessment, that I was checked. But obviously I was in the pool, so they had to monitor me in between contractions, which was like ridiculous, because they were every 1 minute, 2 minute apart. So it was a bit difficult for them to monitor me for any long period of time. So yeah, I just started to feel like I needed to push and having contractions. And then when it got to the time when I was about to push, I was kind of, like I said, I was sitting up and I was having gas and air, and the pain is indescribable. Like, I can't explain how much it hurt. Obviously labour's gonna hurt, and I kind of didn't really expect it to be that bad. And I don't want to scare anyone who's watching this, but for giving birth, it's a very temporary pain. It doesn't last very long at all. It just kind of feels like it does at the time, but it's really not. It's like 1 minute or so, I don't know, but it's very temporary. So just keep that in mind when you do give birth, that it's not like you're gonna see your baby soon, and that's the point where you really are gonna see your baby like any minute. So yeah, I started feeling the stretching of his head being right down there. Like, I could feel everything. I could feel his head right at the birth canal, ready to come out, and I basically just felt stretching, like really, like burning stretching, really, really bad. And that was obviously his head crowning. That was probably the most painful of the labour for me. The contractions were painful as well, but that was definitely the most painful in my experience. And then his head was crowning, and then the midwives, I don't know how they managed to be 4 people in there. I didn't notice them come in, but there was like 4 midwives coming in, and they were just, yeah, it's just your body stretching, don't worry, it's normal. Because I was kind of starting to panic, and I was like I was trying to low moan, because I was trying to do my down breathing, and I ended up like just making a lot of noise, which I didn't really want to do. I was kind of like, well, I'm not going to make any noise, that's embarrassing, but when you're in labour, you kind of just do what feels right, and making a noise was helping me deal with the pain, especially that burning, stretching pain of the crowning. So then they were telling me to push, they kept telling me to push, because he was literally right there, and it was definitely time to kind of get him out. And then I started pushing, and I can't really remember every feeling that I had, because obviously, so it was just a really good labour, painful and a bit kind of not long. It wasn't I was only in the hospital for 4.5 hours. The rest of the time I laboured at home, so it wasn't like, it just felt long when you're in that much pain. Obviously it does feel a long time. So once I'd given birth to him and his cord had been cut, and Brad took him for some skin to skin, and while they helped me out of the pool, I still had this placenta inside me at that point, and I was feeling a lot of cramping, and I had the cords kind of dangling out, like not the best kind of image, but I managed to get out of the pool and onto the bed, and then when I was on the bed, it was like 5-10 minutes, and I got the placenta out, pushed the placenta out. That didn't hurt. It stung a little bit because I'd tore, but it was just like an urge to push, just like with the baby, just a lot squashier, so it was pretty easy to get out. And then shortly after that I managed to breastfeed for a little bit. I'll do a video on my breastfeeding experience with my daughter. I did one before. I find it really difficult because I don't produce a lot of milk, and I have really flat nipples, which makes it really hard for the baby to latch on and to stay on. It makes me so anxious as well, so I hate that. I hate that it's difficult, because I did want to breastfeed, and I wanted to try with this one as well, but I didn't have high hopes because of what happened with my daughter. But anyway, I managed to latch him, well, the midwife latched him on for me, and he was on there for quite a while, so at least he did get the colostrum. I really wanted him to get that. And then he went on the other side for a little bit, and when we got to the room, like after I'd been stitched up and everything, I tried to get him on again because he wanted to go on again, and I couldn't do it. I felt so anxious that I just couldn't do it. I just said, I can't do it. I want to pump. I want to express milk rather than breastfeed. And then after that, Brad took him again because he'd been on there for like quite a while. I felt like quite a while. And then I had to be stitched up, and that didn't hurt. They obviously gave me anaesthetic down there, which was a bit of a sharp pain, but it was nothing obviously compared to the crowning experience. And I had Gessner as well, and it was kind of bearable. I wasn't really in a lot of pain when they kind of did that. I wasn't in a lot of pain anyway. Once they stitched me up, I didn't have sitting down pain. I had a bit. I was more completely exhausted, like I couldn't sit up. I lost 500 mils of blood, so I did lose quite a bit of blood, and that was why I felt so like no energy. I felt like I was going to collapse, so they did bring tea and toast. I just needed a little bit of sugar to kind of bring my sugar levels up, and that made me feel better. And then when I was on the ward, unfortunately we weren't able to have our own room because they have like double beds with, you know, you can stay in, but I think someone else was in there staying in the room, so we couldn't do that. We couldn't go in there, so we ended up going on like a little ward. Brad stayed with me though this time, so they got like a little bed, little sofa bed for him to sleep on. Obviously we didn't get a lot of sleep anyway because we were with 3 other babies with their parents. He like slept about a 4.5 hour block, so he wasn't like, he didn't cry that much, so it wasn't too bad actually. It was pretty good. But yeah, and that's kind of the whole labour and delivery story. I'm sorry if it's a bit rushed or a bit mismatched, but I just really wanted to get it up and get it out there, and this is literally how it went. It was quite quick. The whole active labour was only like 4.5 hours since being at the hospital, and then I stayed overnight because obviously I had him at 7:24 p.m. on Sunday night, the 29th, and I went home the Monday, and then Brad's paternity leave was starting from that Monday. So I managed a little bit of that, and then I'll do another video. I'll do a like 1 month, because obviously he's 2 weeks old now, so it's a bit late to do my like 1 week, so I'll probably do my 1 month update, and I'll talk about feeding more then. But yeah, aside from that, recovery's been really good. I haven't felt very sore. I've been taking Arnica 200, which has helped me. I'm not swelling or anything. I'm not really bruised. I'm fine now, but I'm talking about before. The main symptom that I had was just feeling like I was gonna faint. I could barely stand, and now I'm able to walk. Like, I can't tell you how good it is to be able to kind of walk without having this huge bump, even though I do miss my bump. I miss being pregnant, which happened last time, which is probably why I had 5 months before I got pregnant again with my son. This time it's not going to happen. We're going to wait like at least a 1.5 years, because obviously I don't want to have a huge age gap, but I don't want to be overwhelmed either by having even more, because it is really hard. The newborn stage is really hard. I find that the hardest. At the moment I'm just trying to get to grips with everything. Brad's back at work. He's on a late shift, which sucks so much, because he's not going to be here in the evenings when I need him the most to help with like bath time and feeding and changing 2 kids' nappies and everything. But I'm going to leave this video here. But yeah, as you can see, there he is, little Max. He's just had a bottle. I've expressing some milk, the amount that I can. It's not a lot, but I'm giving him a little bit every day, which is what works for me at the moment. But yeah, he's thriving. His weight was £8.15. I completely forgot to mention his weight. Now, when he was weighed last, he was 9 pounds. He lost a little bit. It went down to 8.6, and then it went up to 9 pounds. So he's doing really well on formula and breast milk. He's very active. I think he's going through a growth spurt at the moment, because he's had a 3.5 ounce bottle, and now he's looking for more. So I might have to give him formula, because my breast milk doesn't seem to do anything to fill him up. But yeah, anyway, that's all for another video. So thank you for watching, and I will see you soon. Bye. Yeah.
Hi. Can't hear ya. 1924. Yeah, well done. What'd you say?
When do you want visible?
Because it was the membranes, but you know you can see that dark, so it was definitely. No, it was ahead. I'll do it as that. That's all. We like them quiet a bit. Cereal. See, I was adamant I was going to see this little man. Just tighten him. I'm just going to see how much giving it. It's very short, isn't it? I'm going to put it in between his legs. There we go. You're right. You happy? Yeah. Well done. So all this is all just... They're actually, you get this when they're early, not when they're overdue. Oh good, yeah. So what we need to do is to try keep him warm, Mummy. So I'm going to take this away, just keep his head, make sure his face stays above the water. And just to try get him under a little bit, just to keep him nice and warm with the water. Okay, and just his face above. That's it. The water's just by his shoulder there, so just be a little careful to see. There we are. Yes. Welcome, Papa. Even if you get one tear a bit of, you get one tear. It probably feels a bit better for you as well, does it? Yes. Do you feel warm enough? Well done. Very well done.